SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
This is Gerard Gibert, and thank you for listening to MidDays here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
MidDays with Gerard Gibert is on the air. MidDays with Gerard Gibert is powered by C-Spire. Power your home or business with C-Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C-Spire. C-Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Midday SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm your host, Gerard Gibert, on location at Mississippi's Giant House Party just off of Founders Square for the annual Neshoba County Fair. Rhino safe and sound, rubbing it in that he's in the air conditioning back in the SuperTalk headquarters studio. We'll be guiding you through the middle of your day with facts, fodder, and fine music on this
Hump Day.
It's a hump day at the Neshoba County Fair over here, Rhino. I will say, I think I'm losing count. This may be number 4 that I've done here as a host of Middays, and this may be the hottest that it's been for all the events. I can tell because my phone keeps saying I'm too hot, and I'm not even doing anything, not even using it, and it's not in the sun. There are a lot of folks walking around with little hand fans as well. Many of the exhibitors are giving those out, and those are quite popular. As you can imagine, everybody's walking around fanning themselves because it's hot. But it's the Neshoba County Fair, and it's late July, so it should be. But what a show we've got lined up for you today. A packed schedule of guests, starting with Mississippi State Senator Lane Taylor, represents District 88. That's exactly where we are, Leake, Neshoba, and Winston counties. Congressman Michael Guest on Middays at 10:35. The Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Mississippi kicks off Hour 2, 11:05. Governor Delbert Hosemann. It's the Insurance Commissioner, Mike Chaney, at 11:20, and then Scott Bounds at 11:35. He, of course, is in the Mississippi House of Representatives, also serves as the president of the Neshoba County Fair. Agriculture and Commerce Commissioner Andy Gibson, he joins Middays to kick off Hour 3, the afternoon portion, at 12:05. Candidate for Secretary of State, former Democrat, now a Republican, Shawaski Young, on Middays at 12:20. And then we've got some folks from Mississippi State University and the Mississippi Arts Commission that are come on and talk about what they got going on at the School of Architecture, Art and Design, Small Town Center, and the Mississippi Arts Commission. So a full day in store for you today. Yesterday, Rhino, we spoke a little bit about this assassination culture. I did a little interview on Newsmax Monday where there was kind of a split screen sort of back and forth on that, and the Democrat strategist that was on the other side of the screen essentially refuted that that the liberals, the left in this country, actually support assassination as a way to literally eliminate people that they are not supportive of, such as President Donald J. Trump. He's one of those. Elon Musk, you've seen them call for his assassination, numerous others. And, of course, this was in response to the celebration that broke out on social media from the left in this country over the death of Hulk Hogan. And they see Hulk Hogan as someone who is a supporter of Donald Trump, our president. one they consider MAGA, and so they just think anybody who's in MAGA just needs to die. Well, a couple of days ago, sadly, there was a sick killer we talked about yesterday in Manhattan. You wouldn't expect this in the Manhattan area of New York City. And 4 or 5 total lost their lives, Rhino, including the shooter. So
4.
4, okay. So one of those who was assassinated by this wacko, this scum, happens to be a manager at Blackstone. Blackstone, the big private equity investment group. Blackstone executive Wesley LePatner was among those who were killed in the Monday meltdown. That meltdown is obviously too kind, but Wesley
Apologies,
LePatner.
5 with the shooter.
Okay, 5 with the shooter. That's what I thought. So she was the CEO of the Blackstone, one of their divisions, the Real Estate Income Trust. And these wackos go out there, you may have seen this, and they've got a stamp, essentially, a photo of her in the background, stamp diagonally across her head, red outline, and then inside the rectangle formed by the red outline, big red letters, block letters, Luigi'd, referring to Luigi Mangione, who killed in broad daylight the CEO of United Healthcare. So these people are sick. They're deranged. They're scum of the earth. They're celebrating the fact that this thug killed a human being because they don't like the fact that Blackstone is an investment firm that is obviously involved in the capitalistic system of our country in a big way. They're so dang jealous and envious of people with wealth. They can't stand it. They're ne'er-do-wells who produce nothing and contribute nothing for society. They posted, one of these nutcases said, Wesley LePatner, the CEO of Blackstone Real Estate Income, I'm reading from the Post Trust, has been evicted from the mortal plane. Aren't they clever, Rhino, with this kind of garbage? It's just unbelievable that this is going on in this country, that these people are embracing, they're condoning, they support murder as a means to address their grievances. I'm not happy because I'm poor and these Blackstone people are wealthy, and what they do is help wealthy people invest their money to help others. That's what they don't get. A lot of their clients are businesses who hire people, who enable them to make a living and achieve some economic success. That's what they do. They don't get that. They don't care. All they know is they got, I don't, you got to die. It's sick. These people are sick. We got to put a stop to this. She was 46, senior managing director of the Blackstone Real Estate Income Trust, a $53 billion portfolio. A mother, a wife, a daughter, sister, from all accounts, well-liked by her colleagues. Just unbelievable. I'm not sure what else to say about it other than it's disgusting. It's a disgusting development. And these people that do not believe that this is a real in this country, that they're, and you know what? I'm not seeing a lot of Democrats at high-level ranking positions, Rhino, denounce this sort of behavior from people who support them. If they are, I'm missing it. It's not getting a lot of media attention. Maybe that's because the media supports it. Maybe if there are Democrats who are criticizing this sort of behavior, they don't want to report that because they support assassination.
Well, using their own logic, silence is complicity.
Well, I agree. That is what they lecture us about all the time. No doubt about it. Very disturbing development, and really, the rhetoric that comes out of the left, all this Marxism that they spout all the time. Hey, you deserve what they have, and all this kind of crap, and we need to seize the means of production, as Zoran Mamdani is telling New Yorkers. a self-avowed socialist, really a communist. By the way, you saw the spread he had for his wedding and wedding reception. Is that possible under socialism, or did capitalism create all of those fringe benefits and all of those niceties and amenities and luxuries as part of his wedding? My understanding is there were numerous big stretch limos, and then had this lavish reception. But this guy's a socialist. Shouldn't he
You're talking
give that
about
money away?
Talking about the multi-day party on the compound in Uganda, surrounded
That
by
would be
armed
it.
guards and a personal army.
While the rest fear for their lives on a daily basis, especially if they speak up against the corrupt regime that's stolen what assets the country has. Oh, but they're all for community and redistribution. My butt. Totally ridiculous. It's so maddening. What a way to start the
Wait,
show.
you're saying you won't have the money to travel to a foreign country to get married under socialism and communism?
Ding, 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 ding. They don't get that. Unbelievable. Well, we're stepping aside for a break right now. First segment at the Neshoba County Fair is in the books. Coming up next, it's Lane Taylor. He's a Mississippi State Senator, represents District 18. That's right where we're sitting right now in Neshoba County. Coming right back from the Element Wealth Studio at the Neshoba County Fair.
This segment of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Gerard Gibert. He keeps his classified documents right where they belong. Inside a Journey record jacket from the 1980s. Gerard Gibert. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside. There behind the glass stands a real blade of grass. Be careful as you pass. Move along, move along. Come inside, the show's about to start.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays, the Element Wealth Studio, relocated to Founder Square here at Mississippi's giant house party. It's the Neshoba County Fair. Darren and Jackson quickly said, are we going to end up with a medium rare, Gerard, today? I don't know. It may be well done, Darren, before the day is out. It's a little warm over here. We're pleased to welcome now Mississippi State Senator Lane Taylor, represents District 18. That includes Leake, Neshoba, and Winston counties. Senator, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Good to see you, Mr. Gerard. Good to be here.
Yeah, man. So from all accounts, just sitting here, looks like we have a great crowd, as we always do. It's a little warm, but people are dealing with it. I see lots of people walking around with the hand fans.
That's
but,
right.
This is a big day because we've got many of the elected officials speaking today,
sir.
speaking tomorrow, and we look forward to what they have to say. But tell us about how you got in, Lane, what made you decide to run for office, and what happened that allowed you to run and be elected there.
Yes, sir. But Neshoba County is my home. Matter of fact, I live about a mile and a half through the woods.
Okay.
So this is my home, and coming back here today, it was an honor to I just gave my speech just a few minutes ago,
Yeah.
So it's good to be back here to the place I call home. But, you know, Gerard, this area, this Neshoba County Fairs is, I should say the spirit of the Neshoba County Fair is one reason that made me decide to run. District 18 is very special. We have a lot of people here that, different businesses, different faith organizations, our community, our schools. We just come together. All of District 18 is just a group that comes together. We love each other. So whenever I found out Senator Branning was going to run for Supreme Court, you know, it got brought up a few times. I thought about it a little bit. Me and my wife talked about it. We prayed about it. And we ultimately made the decision that if we wanted to continue making this a better place to live, that we would have to do something. And I think our way of doing that was running for office. And campaign was very short, as you know, and many of you listeners know. It was a short campaign. Senator Branning won her election. The seat opened up. The governor announced the election. I think we had a 90-day campaign, and
Right.
I felt like for 90 days I was going from start to finish, but I
Yep.
really enjoyed it. I told my wife the other day, I said, if I could campaign for a living, I would, because I enjoyed sitting down. I mean, I went and visited at people's houses, but got done with the campaign and was blessed enough to win, and here we are today.
Well, I have to say, that is unusual. You know, most of the elected folks, as I know you've talked to, they don't particularly care for the campaign. Some do. It just really depends on your personality. But the fact that you embraced it and enjoyed it, and, of course, when you're running for a district like that, you're able to go visit directly with so many. That's a lot more fun than trying to cover the state.
That's right.
If you're running for a statewide office. But so what did you talk about in your speech today, Senator? Well, you got the session coming up. It's hard to believe in about 5 months. You guys will be down there at the Capitol.
I know it. My first day on the job was a special session.
That's right, yeah.
So it was an exciting time. And, you know, the main thing I did today was thank everybody. Coming off the campaign just a few months ago, I mean, I just wanted to thank everybody, thank my family, friends, thank all the voters, the supporters, all the people here with us today. But I talked about education, having 2 young children. I've got a 4-year-old and 11-month-old. I talked about education, how important it is to me. I talked about, you know, dealing with education. I was blessed to go to the Neshoba Central School District from start to finish, and I had some really good teachers, some good mentors, some that are still very close friends and supporters. I talked about the you know, just the importance of education.
Yeah.
And I also talked about, you know, what made this community special, why I wanted to serve. Talked about supporting small businesses. I'm a small business owner myself. I'm in my 10th year of business as an auction company based right here in Philadelphia. So I talked about the importance of supporting small business and our farmers. You know, here in District 18, that is a big, that's big business around here is agriculture. And so I talked about supporting them. And then I talked about creating opportunities. One of my goals is to create opportunities. I'm a younger man, and so a lot of my classmates back in high school, and they chose to leave. I didn't. I chose to stay right here in Neshoba County, and I was excited to do so because I love this community and I love this district. And so I talked about creating opportunities and being new. You know, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't have all the answers. I've got ideas, but I'm ready to learn. I'm eager to get in and go to work for the people that put me there. And I just want to create opportunities, whatever that looks like, create an environment to where you don't have to go out and seek employment. You don't have to go out and seek, you know, different opportunities. They're going to be available right here in District 18.
Yeah, that's a good message, and I appreciate that because, as you know, we have so many great young people, and our universities across the state are fantastic, and we turn out these magnificent graduates. But they need a place to work.
That's right.
And so many of them seek opportunities outside the state because of the lack within the state. But the good news is we are enjoying some significant economic growth.
That's right.
The governor's hyper-focused on that. Legislature did well to craft some deals that made big economic development projects a reality in our state. Right. So hopefully that'll increase on that. Have you been in contact with any members of the Senate since you were elected, except for the short special session where you had to pass a budget?
That's right. That's right. I have, and that's one thing that I was somewhat a little bit nervous about. Just, you know, anything is new, you tend to get nervous. And going in, you know, I didn't know what it was like. I didn't know if it was going to be all sharp dressed and we had to form a straight file line. I didn't know, Gerard. And so when I got down there and they have been so welcoming. They have been so helpful.
Yep.
I mean, I wouldn't be scared to say ever since I've been elected, at least once a week, I've had someone from the Senate text and say, you know, hey, can I help you?
Yeah.
What are you thinking? What's going on? And they've been very helpful and just a genuine desire to be available to help me make this transition.
Yeah.
So, and just, you know, I had a previous senator tell me that I'll make some of my best friends there in the Senate. And so those bonds have already started to form, and so it's been exciting to get to talk with them and you know, hear their ideas and just come together and work as a team. So excited about that.
Have you had any conversations with the Lieutenant Governor?
I have. He's been very helpful in passing. You know, he's texted me several times, just checking in and. You know, what can we do to help? His office is always available. His staff have done a wonderful job just coming in and just, you know, just asking, not even had to be asked, just asking, what can we do? How can we help? You know, so that's something I've been very grateful and thankful for, is just that their willingness to help and very welcoming. Lieutenant Governor's done a great job, and, you know, just making sure that I felt welcome, included. During the special session, that was my first day. But as we went through, he would take time to step aside and say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what's going on. So that was a big help. I kind of felt like I was just a fly on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
But him and his staff and all the other senators made it very welcoming and enjoyable experience. So
well,
far.
your enthusiasm is admirable, Senator. It's the way you need to be approaching this deal. Going in, you'll have a full session, of course, getting kicked off in January. Are you hearing anything from the Lieutenant Governor or Senate leadership as to what they're going to be focused on?
I really haven't. Not a lot. We've spent some time talking. We were in D.C. I had the opportunity to travel to Washington, D.C. to a leadership conference there last week. So in travel time, we all kind of discussed different topics, and we talked about what could be going on, and didn't really hear anything specific. And I asked the question, and they said it's coming. It's coming. So I think the meetings are starting to come. This being my first session, I think be called into some meetings. I have not been assigned my committees yet, and I think that's where you get. I believe that's where you get a lot of your information from.
Yeah.
So, I asked some of the committee chairs to include me, and they've done that. So some of the ones I would like to be on, I have a question to be on.
Okay.
Some of those chairs have reached out and said, hey, this month we're going to start meeting. We'd love for you to come. And Lieutenant Governor thought that was a good idea, too.
Yeah,
so look forward to that.
So on the C-Spire text line, someone from the 662 area code area wanted me to ask you about the auction. What's that all about?
Yes, sir. So I'm an auctioneer. I'm an auctioneer, and that's kind of what I'm known for in this area. I've got a weekly auction on Facebook, so we enjoy that. I do a lot of estate sales, and I love my auction crowd. They're big supporters of mine and my wife Jordan. So my wife Jordan and I own the auction company. So, so if you're listening, we're still going to be auctioning. Well, that's quite the art. So, Representative Lance Varner, my bandmate in the House band in the House, he's also an auctioneer. Right. That's right.
Got one in the Senate, one in the House. Maybe we need to have dueling auctions.
That's right. I'm just the prettier, better looking version of Lance.
I'm gonna tell Lance that. He's probably listening. That's great. Senator Lane Taylor has been our guest here at the Neshoba County Fair. Appreciate you coming on,
Yes,
Senator.
sir. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Folks, we're stepping aside for a break. When we come back, it's Congressman Michael Guest. He represents Mississippi's 3rd District. We're snap dab in the middle of it right here at the Neshoba County Fair, Mississippi's giant house party. Coming right back.
From the SeabrookPaint.com, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Gerard Gibert. Middays with Gerard. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
We're back with you in the Element Wealth studio over at the Neshoba County Fair. We're pleased to welcome now Congressman Michael Guest. He represents Mississippi's District 3, which happens to be where we're currently positioned here at the fair. Congressman, always good to see you, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, sir, Gerard. Always good to talk to you.
Let's see, Houston, we got some. Yeah, we're gonna have to change headsets. We may want to get Michael over here. Here we go. Make a quick switcheroo. This one's got some buzzing going on. Sorry about that, folks. Give us 1 second. We're going to get the congressman seated and get let's see if I can get his mic on and get him ready to go. All right, how's that, Congressman?
Can you hear me, Gerard?
Yeah, we
all
got
right.
Perfect. Yeah,
good stuff.
Good stuff. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so this is always a great event. You guys are in recess right now. The Senate looks like they're hanging around.
That's right. They still have some confirmations that are trying to get across the finish line, and so a little more responsibility that they have on that end than we have in the House. We were able to get a lot of things done in the House. Excited about the first real 6 months of the Trump presidency. You look at what we were able to accomplish. We know that the main source of what we were doing was working on the budget reconciliation. That was a major piece of legislation. It addressed several things. First and foremost, is it prevented the largest tax increase in American history.
Yeah.
Without us stepping in, any tax rate of any filer making more than $12,000, the tax rates would have gone up. The standard deduction taken by 90% of filers would have been slashed in half. The child tax credit would have been slashed in half. But in addition to extending that, we've expanded that to include additional benefits for people who are on Social Security, hourly workers who are paid by overtime, those individuals who receive their compensation by tips. And so we were excited about that. We're excited about the border component that was part of that bill, what we were able to do with that one-time military spending. And then we're excited about the state of the economy right now. We think the state of the economy is strong. We think that with the reconciliation package that was passed, it gives certainty to businesses. And we're starting to see now that being reflected in market data. As we've seen, many of our major markets are now either at or have exceeded all-time highs.
So we got GDP data this morning, and it shocked the markets with 3%. 3%. The market was looking for 2.5% or so. So it looks like the economy is chugging along pretty strongly, and that's even with the tariffs. The president just announced a little while ago a 25% tariff with India. Of course, blockbuster deal he announced with the EU. And you know what I think, Congressman, I said this on the air the other day, just the fact that he even ventures into that part of government, that he is concerned about the disparity and the relationship and the trading partner deals we have. The fact that he's just put focus on it, I don't think Kamala Harris or the Democrats even think about that. They're more focused on what government programs can we create.
And that's the difference in having a businessman in the White House than having a lifelong politician.
No doubt.
He understands that. He understands that Americans need a level playing field if we're going to be competitive in this global economy. And he's not willing to shake things up. And that's why the American people elected him, and that's why he's getting things done.
Yeah. Monumental accomplishment, wouldn't you say, by Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, getting through the reconciliation bill. It was touch and go there for a while. I know the president was working the phones. Of course, the speaker was as well. You finally, because you have such a small balance, of course, between the parties in the House, maybe the smallest ever in our history, if I'm not mistaken. So that's, people don't realize what a big deal it is. We got that done. We're good to go. I want to share this with you. You were talking about the economy and just the business clarity. I really believe making permanent the immediate expensing provisions is going to do more for our economy than anything else.
When I'm talking to business leaders, that's the thing that they're most proud of. They are extremely proud of that. Of course, the individuals, they're excited that we're not going to be increasing their taxes. And again, we talked about the standard deduction, how important that is. But in the business community, you are exactly right. They see that as being, of all the things that were in the package, that being the most important of them all.
Yeah, it induces investment, growth, and that, of course, creates jobs and wealth. And as Rhino likes to say, that requires some second-order thinking by the Democrats, which they typically don't want to do. So that's all good stuff. So when you guys got to head back?
So we're home through the month of August. We'll return the first week of September. Once we get back, we'll immediately dive back into the appropriations process. We have been able to pass 9 of the 12 appropriations bills out of the committee in the House. We've passed 2 off the floor, so we've got a lot of work to do to be able to advance that. We will begin negotiating with the Senate because any appropriations bills can't be passed just with a simple Republican majority.
Right.
It's going to require 60 votes in the Senate.
So you need some Democrats.
We do. And we saw, Schumer, when he agreed to the continuing resolution earlier this year, we saw how he was vilified by his party. And so, I think that does make it more likely of a potential government shutdown. I hope we don't get to that point because we know it is very counterproductive. But that's going to be the primary focus, the next choke point, if you will. We passed the reconciliation package. We passed the rescissions package, the first time in 30 years that we actually passed the rescissions package. And so we're doing some things that Congress hasn't done in a long time, but we've got to make sure we are keeping spending under control.
Speaker says more rescission packages are coming. I mean, the Biden administration went crazy with their spending habits. And even though it's not a lot of money, it's good to see that we got something done, which means at least we've opened the door. There's a bit of an appetite to start clawing back on some of this crazy spending.
That's right. And look, Republicans through the DOGE program have identified $190 billion
saw the latest report.
in unnecessary spending. And so that number continues to grow. So between the rescissions, between the unnecessary spending that we are uncovering, we're going to slowly be able, hopefully, to make a dent in the continued growing national debt. And look, that to me is our biggest challenge. The biggest challenge that lies ahead is what can we do on mandatory spending, what can we do on discretionary spending to bring down that spending curve. We need the economy to continue to excel, to bring in more tax revenues so that we can offset the deficit. But that is something that all lawmakers and really all Americans should continue to be focused on.
Yeah. So the GDP report gives one a lot of hope that we can get to that sort of 4 to 5% GDP growth level that the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has talked about as a way to address our deficit spending.
Yeah, and look, we know that is a key, and that never would have happened under Kamala Harris' administration.
Doubt.
Never happened when Joe Biden was president. They were saying we'd be lucky to get to 2%. And here we are talking about the possibility of doubling that to 4% a year, and that's going to have a real impact on all Americans. So we are all going to be able to benefit by that economic growth, and so that is, as John F. Kennedy said, a rising tide floats all boats. That's exactly what
won't
we're
hear a
going to
Democrat
see.
say that today, will you?
No, they would say something about increasing taxes makes everybody better, some sort of slogan like that. But, if you look back, whether it be Reaganomics, whether it be John F. Kennedy, we know that when the economy is booming, that it benefits all Americans, regardless of party, Republicans, Democrats, Independents. We will all benefit from a growing economy.
This whole Epstein debacle, Congressman, the Speaker of the House seems to be leaning more towards some transparency in getting some of this information released. The president indicates he wants to move on. You've got some interesting bedfellows in certain Democrats and Republicans that are joining in to get legislation out there, perhaps or resolutions to get this stuff. Where do you stand on that? What do you think's going to happen?
My thought is, look, let's release as much of that information as we can, knowing that some of it would need to be redacted. We can't release information that contains the names of victims, potential cooperating witnesses that have come forward giving information. And so clearly there's going to have to be some redaction on the information that's released to the public, but it's created a distraction. It has become now a choke point where we're unable to get our business done in Congress. So look, let's release that information. I'm all for transparency. I'm all for putting that information out there. And I think the quicker we do that, the quicker that we can get back to governing and doing the things that the people elected us to do.
Get it off the plate and put it to bed. Let's move on.
I agree.
So
and look, people ask me, do I think that the president's name is in there? And I said, look, if the president's name was in there, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they would have released those files. That would have been the October surprise. There would have been a dump of the Epstein's files. They would have tried to make some sort of allegations that Epstein and Trump were, in cohorts with one another.
Yeah.
And so, I'm confident that the president, if he's mentioned, it's just in passing. There's nothing that's going to be damning to the president. And so let's get that information out there. Let's clear the decks and let's move forward.
He says that he was invited to the island. He said that earlier in the week, I think, or late last week, said that he rejected the invitation.
That's right. The president has talked before about, the fact that he knew Epstein, that they ran together at times in social circles, but there has been no information that I've ever seen that has said that President Trump, one, knew what Epstein was doing, and two, clearly that he never participated in any of those activities.
Get it out there. So when you guys get back, we got about 40 seconds left. When you guys get back, are you going to be totally focused on getting these appropriations
That's
bills
right.
out?
That'll be the focus for the month of September. We know government funding runs out the end of September, and so we've got 4 weeks to get that done, and so we'll be laser focused on appropriations.
I know you're hearing it, but your constituents want to see regular order. No
doubt.
So, and I know you're working hard on that. Appreciate you coming on. Congressman Michael Guest represents.
Thank you as always, Gerard.
You bet. Represents District 3. We're coming right back. It's Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann at 11:05. We're at the Neshoba County Fair. Stay with us.
Need cash for home improvement?
Middays with Gerard.
Good for America. Good for fans of justice and truth. Good for us.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
This is what we stand for.
Everyone, it's Middays. We're at Founder Square at the Neshoba County Fair. Okay, Rhino, my laptop officially has shut down due to the heat. I do have the phone working, and I think we got our sound problems squared away as well on the break. But we're here at once again at the Neshoba County Fair. That's Mississippi's giant house party. So there was a question on the C Spire text line whether or not the federal employees have returned to work. So what I recall about that, Rhino, is that the president issued an executive order directing all federal employees to get their butts back to the office. That was 2-3 months ago, I think. And so I haven't seen any reports on that just to check on the status. But, I mean, if an executive order is issued, that means that the agency heads have got to carry that out. Now, there are a ton of agencies, and there are a lot of Democrat-leaning Joe Biden, Kamala Harris-loving heads still running some of these agencies that may just be ignoring the order. I honestly don't know. But I do know that he did order it. It is the right thing to do. The one I recall vividly that we talked about on the show, you remember this, Ryan, it was the IRS, just this giant building that had nothing in it but like the cleaning people. And all the IRS folks were at home and getting paid. Well, you remember Joe Biden had included in his the Inflation Reduction Act. This is crazy how math works in Washington. They got the Inflation Reduction Act passed with a simple majority under the reconciliation rules. And one of the ways they were able to make the numbers work was, we're going to hire a bunch of IRS agents. What was it, 87,000 or some insane number like that? And they're going to go out and collect more money, essentially, and that's going to make the numbers work. Well, as expected, you can't find 87,000 people that have any understanding of taxes, first, and second, if they do, want to work for the IRS. That's not going to happen. The president, on the other hand, in the recon bill, there's a provision in there that actually calls for the IRS to be shrunk considerably from its current level. And that involves a lot of just not replacing vacated positions, positions that attrit naturally because folks, they leave the organization or they retire, turn over, move to whatever the case is. They attrit from the IRS's organization and from the payroll. And so one of the things the order says is, don't replace all those people. The other thing I found interesting, a report a couple of days ago that the Doge team is now utilizing powerful AI technology to analyze regulations and to identify regulations that honestly are harmful and are problematic and unnecessary and place unnecessary burdens on Americans. And they are going to point those out in the hopes that these regulations will be just eliminated, repealed, revoked. This is another situation, Ryan, I think is consistent with what you and I have talked about. It's not that people can't do that. It's just these tools can do it at warp speed compared to people. And you can configure the tools to scrub and analyze all these regulations in a way that identifies those which are, in fact, unnecessary, overly burdensome, and just problematic for our economy. So this is welcome news. This is good news. One of the agencies, while we're talking about the federal government and its organizational structure, is ICE, Immigrations and Customs, that particular agency, and that's part of the Department of Homeland Security. So the Department of Homeland Security is launching a major recruitment campaign the agency's looking to, again, replace people that have naturally attrited. They've just quit the organization, moved on in some way, shape, or fashion, and they're looking to bolster the ranks to carry out the mass deportation efforts going on. New funding from the Congress, of course, came about. And so for that purpose, they're looking to hire 10,000 new ICE agents. So that this recruitment campaign, this is kind of staggering. They're paying $50,000 signing bonuses. Also providing student loan relief, law enforcement availability pay of 25% for Homeland Security investigations special agents, administratively uncontrollable overtime. That literally is in the ad for ICE deportation officers. In other words, work as long as you want and you think. Really incredible. Applicants must be at least 21 years old. Varying age requirements depending on the position. So I'm reading from the ad, the promotion itself. This is incredible. $50,000. Wow. We are at the end of hour one at the Neshoba County Fair. We're going to come right back after Fox News and SuperTalk News with the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Mississippi, Delbert Hosemann.
Your hour of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by the Mississippi Business Journal. Visit msbusinessjournal.com. Scott Coopwood, publisher and president.
Welcome to the show that challenges you to think deeply and look beyond political posturing. You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It is hour two of Middays. The Element Wealth Studio has been relocated to Mississippi's giant house party nearby Founder Square. We're at the, of course, world-famous Neshoba County Fair on this
Hump
And they're cooking eggs on the porches without a skillet.
That was the voice of Mississippi Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann. So, Governor, you and I have been to a lot of these. This may be the hottest.
It is. I was surprised a little bit. And you got, we prepare for all of this and hydrate and all that other stuff. But even today, it's a pretty packed house and there's no wind. So
yeah,
come to the party, but come like 4 or 5 o'clock.
Well, it's Mississippi in July, and it's the Neshoba County Fair, so that's how it's supposed to be. Well, we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
You spoke today, right?
We did. We just announced 3 or 4 initiatives.
Okay,
all
talk
of which
about that.
You have an interest in.
Yeah.
One, we're going to have what I believe is the largest tax rebate in the history of Mississippi. $316 million will be paid back to taxpayers if the Senate's position is accepted.
Okay.
And what I did, and you're obviously very familiar with the economics of all this, but we have additional funds that have arrived, and they came from the taxpayers, and we give them money back. And I'm very pleased. It'd be 15% of whatever you paid in 2023. And so if you look up your tax return, Gerard, you can take 15% of your state tax, and we're going to send you a check back for that amount of money.
Okay.
And this has occurred really in the last little bit. We had a really tight budget this year, and we've had additional revenue that, quite frankly, President Trump has succeeded beyond anyone's expectations.
Yeah.
I mean, we voted for him. I was a candidate. I was voted as one of his electors at this national convention. And we had great hopes, and every one of them is being realized. I mean, he settled wars. He stopped illegal immigration just dead in its tracks. He stopped the tax increase we were going to have, the big, beautiful bill. I mean, you just go down the line, and I was kidding. He even changed the formula for Coca-Cola. I didn't know you could do that. But anyway, the president just signed another tariff deal with the European Union, which is almost embarrassingly favorable to the United States.
Yeah.
So all of those things have happened, and the funds have come in, and our people are working, and they deserve to have their money back. So it'll be a $316 million tax rebate. And last night, Gerard, it's interesting, I was talking about this on the program. I was watching Fox News and I had my speech prepared and getting ready. And so I was just kind of listening, and all of a sudden on Fox News they said, look, you know, we've gotten so much money from the tariffs, the president and the Congress is thinking about a rebate for the taxpayers. So as usual, Mississippi's ahead, you know, and now they're thinking about a rebate themselves. So it's just a very positive thing. We had $1.426 billion, so a $316 million rebate really leaves over $1 billion that we can use for.
So the
our
1 point, I
retirement.
didn't mean to interrupt you. That's the amount we have spread in these various accounts of reserves that
Right, well, it's in
of
cash.
surplus. It's in cash, but
It's
I mean
cash.
it's surplus.
But no, it does not include the various accounts.
Okay,
like the
all right.
BP fund.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
mean, there are a number. Of course, it doesn't include the rainy day fund. That's $700 million.
It's got to stay there.
And there are a number of different ones that are not included in this $1.4 billion. So we'll still have about $1.1 billion in cash that we can use for teacher pay and retirement plan contribution. If some of these issues that are coming about with Medicaid, we'll have enough money to fund those. If those occur. And so we position ourselves well.
Okay.
And the other thing, at the end of this year, we'll have paid off $1.4 billion in the state's debt. So we have been positioned in Mississippi by paying less interest, like you do on a credit card. I mean, everybody's familiar with that. By paying less interest, we've been paying off our principal. So you and your children and your grandchildren won't be having to pay off our debt. And so we're in the best financial shape the state's ever been in.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So back to this rebate that the Senate is proposing. So I support the idea of having that. I'm going to call it prorated based on the amount you paid in. You're going to apply a percentage to the amount you paid in 23. So those who did not have an income tax liability would not receive anything back.
They didn't pay anything in.
Well, I agree. So I get it. Are you concerned that you may have some objection to the fact that a lot of those people who, of course, have lower incomes would not participate in this return of some of the surplus money?
Well, first of all, this is an income tax refund, so we're giving the money back. We've already cut the grocery tax, and that affects everybody, but it's an income tax refund. And it's not necessarily that we'll be able to do this every year. It just depends on how the economy goes and whatever else.
Yeah.
So what I would encourage everybody to do is make a lot of money. You know, we want you to make money. So please get a new job. We're upskilling we've got something called Mississippi Reconnect, where our community colleges will teach these individuals out working to upscale their qualities and whatnot. They're called qualifications. So we want people to make more money. That's my response.
Okay.
I want you to be a taxpayer, and when we do the rebate, if we do another one next year or the next year, then I want to pay you too.
Okay.
So it's an income tax refund.
Gotcha.
It's not meant to be a social idea or settle anything.
It's not like
that.
a stimulus check like we were accustomed
well, that's
to.
the other thing, is you well know you put $330 million back in the economy. Most people like me and are going to spend it.
Yeah.
so it circulates through 3, 4, 5 times.
Can be inflationary as well, as we all know from the prior couple of rounds when the federal government.
I don't know $300 million in a.
No, $300 million wouldn't, but what the federal government did, I think, was more substantial.
It absolutely
than that.
was.
Yeah.
I'm proud of Mississippi taking all of that money. As you know, we were the only state to match the local cities and counties on their water and sewer projects. And we spent a lot of things on things that were very long-lasting. And now we're back to where we're giving rebates. So the legislature, despite what you may read in the Clarion Ledger or something, the legislature has been run conservatively by conservative leaders that are elected by taxpayers and the people and voters in the state of Mississippi. And it shows. It's showing here.
We got about 3 minutes left. I understand you talked some today about Mississippi's veterans and some concerns you have there.
We did. I was at the White House a week ago, Tuesday or Wednesday, and I got a visit with the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Doug Collins, a former congressman.
Right,
You
from
may
Georgia.
have met him before. From Georgia, that's right. Very nice guy, and his whole plan, I was very receptive to that. And then I've met with the Veterans Affairs officers here in Mississippi. 60% of the veterans that commit suicide never got to the VA. So where he wanted us to do, and where I've been meeting with them to do, is have our military, when you're when you go out of the military like I did, you would sign up for the VA. They just don't sign up. It's free. Yeah. But they just don't sign up. And that is a safety net for somebody that gets in trouble. If you haven't read the book Dogwood, Gerard, I'd ask you to read that book. It's about the 155th going overseas and fighting in Iraq. We lost, I think, 4 of our soldiers from Loosedale in Mississippi. And then when they came home, Gerard, 2 of them committed suicide. So this is real life stuff. And Trent Kelly, our congressman now and was a future general, was a captain in that area. And you'll recognize a lot of the names and whatnot. And how they have come back now about 15 or 20 years later to go into society and the issues that they face with doing that. Very well written. I recommend it. Dogwood is the name of it. Everybody ought to read it. And then,
what do you think about doing it at the state level, Governor?
Oh, at the state level?
To address this issue.
Yeah, what we're going to do is we're meeting with the military. I don't want to say it's mandatory to sign up for VA. It's supposed to be elective. Okay. But I want to have it like almost mandatory.
I understand.
So we're going to either give an incentive package for people to sign up. If you get you get a bonus, if you just sign up for VA. It doesn't even cost you anything.
Get some help.
So we've looked at that, and then if you don't need help, that's fine. If you ever do, then you've got it. Maybe a year, maybe 5 years, maybe 20 years down the line. So we've been meeting with them about an incentive to have people do what they really ought to be doing anyway.
We got about 30 seconds left. I understand you touched a little bit about where you stood on school choice, something you and I have talked about many times. Yep. You know, the speakers heavily focused on that. What do you see as something you could support along those lines this year?
Well, we're going to support right away. One of the first bills out after the tax rebate will be to have the corporations necessary drafted in our state law to allow people to get the $1,700 tax back.
So you support that?
I support that.
That's federal provision.
Federal provision. So a family will be $3,400. There's some restrictions on it that I'm learning about now, but we'll have that will coagulate by the time we get here. Then, as you know, I don't believe any school ought to be able to hold somebody back if they want to leave.
Yep.
And then I don't believe any school that is an F school ought to have the ability to hold anyone, and the state ought to pay for them to go to another school.
Gotcha.
So those 3 things will come up again this year, and we'll see how it works out with the House plans and whatnot.
Gotcha.
Clearly, the federal money is going to be helpful.
Yeah. That's a good program, I think.
Lieutenant Governor, but they print money. We don't print money.
You can't do that. Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann has been our guest here on Middays. We're coming right back with Mississippi's Insurance Department Commissioner Mike Chaney. Stay with us.
The talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
We're rolling. Hit it. Go. Play it.
Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk Mississippi.
All right, folks, we are back at Founder Square, the SuperTalk iconic tents set up near the square. Perfect time in there, Rhino. We had the national anthem going on, and we've got Commissioner Mike Chaney with us. He, of course, is the commissioner of the Mississippi Insurance Department. So we did our duty. We stood. We put our right hand over our heart for the national anthem. Patriotic folks here. Commissioner, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Good patriotic. You know, that Star Spangled Banner ended just right, Gerard.
It was perfect, wasn't it?
Perfect. Great.
we were fortunate on that respect. So, what about it? Have you spoken today?
I spoke at 10:10. It's evident you didn't listen to me.
Well, I can't. I'm on the show. I got a headset on.
Hey, folks listen out there. Gerard and I know each other, and
that's right.
We'll spar a good bit. And,
that's exactly right.
Our philosophies are pretty close, so that's all right.
Oh, my gosh. So, what was your message today?
My message was you need steady, predictable regulation.
Okay.
You've got a market that you got to have a lot of adaptation in, and you got to adapt when you can. It's an ever-moving market. It changes on a daily basis because of the world conflicts and things that we do. Now, the average person out here at the fair is not interested in reinsurance until it's a pocketbook. But Basically, I talked about the strength of Mississippi Homes, which, I'm not real happy about the fact the legislature took my authority to spend the money away. Now, we did have a little thing in the bills that sends the money to trust, so evidently we may get it back.
Yeah.
In January, but the problem is it takes so much money to get the program started back up. We wasted a lot of money. But outside of that, we talked about the good news is we got a steady stream of money for rural fire trucks, an additional $18 million starting in 2007, and that's not tax dollars. That's dollars from non-admitted fees, the insurance companies. And that's the way it should be. It shouldn't be tax dollars going to it.
Okay, gotcha. So. Something, Commissioner, I know you're paying attention to. I would argue that the general public probably isn't, because, when you get into health insurance, it's so dang complicated. It's an incredibly convoluted ecosystem. But the Biden administration, in the Inflation Reduction Act, increased the subsidies in the ACA marketplaces, the exchanges, and we saw enrollment across the country, but in Mississippi, it increased substantially as a result of lowering the cost. Those are scheduled to expire at the end of the year, and right now, that was not included in the budget bill. Right now, it doesn't look like there's an appetite in Congress to extend them.
Well, you're right, Gerard. There is no appetite. I will be at the NAIC, that's National Association of Insurance Commissioners, in Minneapolis on the 11th of August, and that's a big topic for us. Bob Williams in my office and David and I will meet with SASAL. We've got an hour set aside to see what we need to do in Mississippi. But when the enrollment spiked, it went from about 120,000 to 300,000.
I think 370 is the last figure I saw on KFL.
We're not sure all of them.
More than doubled.
And what we see with the rate filings we got 2 weeks ago, so you're kind of privy to some of that.
Yeah.
We're looking at rate increases requests. Now, I'm not saying we're going to approve them, but the feds may intervene on us. But we got requests up to 58% increase. And the problem you have, and that's on non-ACA products, Affordable Care Act products. The problem you'll see is we'll probably dump 300,000 people in the uninsured market. But we got a game plan now.
Okay.
And the game plan is we kept our high-risk pool alive. And I met with a group yesterday in the office about formulating some plans. We'll have to put together a think group, somebody like you that's been around and that can figure out how we can provide insurance through the high-risk pool that's affordable now.
Okay.
You'd be looking at a policy of about $500 a month.
Okay.
Because those policies are going to over 1,000 now. That didn't include family.
If
you got a family policy, you're looking at $2,500 a month. And you can't do that and pay your bills and pay your automobile, your homeowner insurance, and buy groceries, unless you are wealthy like some people I know.
And we should be clear, this isn't a problem that's unique to the state of Mississippi. The insurers across the country are advising the states that, look, we're going up. And most of them cite increased medical cost as the driver.
It is,
here.
and I worry about what will happen with the hospitals. We got 9 hospitals or 10 that on a bubble about going under. It's not just the Delta. You got one in Meridian that's in trouble, and Greenwood's in trouble. It's not a secret.
Right.
And you got a desert between Greenville, Mississippi, and Vicksburg. The hospital there has not been rebuilt, and what we're using there is an emergency medical clinic for medical care. And we're trying to work with the medical folks. And why I'm involved in it is the federal government will not allow us to sell health insurance if you don't have a network.
Right. Yeah, well,
and you got to have a network.
You got to have a network, and that, of course, that's always the big hurdle for anyone that wants to sell insurance in the state. It's not that they can't get through your office and the regulatory requirements. It's that it takes a lot of time and money and effort to build a network.
It's tough to do, and we'll work on that. Hopefully we'll get all of that put together.
Okay. So. Well, I just know that's on your table, and it's something you guys are thinking about. That there's the forecasts are from the industry analysts that we could see a substantial drop-off from those enrolled in exchange plans. And there's some additional requirements now you got to meet also to qualify for the subsidies, and that could cause a drop-off, which means we have more uninsured, and that becomes, as you know, additional cost to the hospitals.
It's going to be a nightmare for us. And, you know, you and I had a private conversation, and I will say we've had to do research on what's going to happen on the drug side. I know I'm on the board at the State Health Plan, and we get requests all the time for a drug that costs $1 million a year. We got a request for one that costs $3.5 million a year.
That's not the sickle cell drug, is it?
The sickle cell drug's about $280,000 per treatment. And
is that the new one? There's a new, like, more permanent treatment that I think just got approved, Commissioner.
The permanent treatment's in there, but you got to take it 4 times.
Okay, I got
so it ends up right at $1 million.
$1 million.
And we are covering most of that.
Okay.
And we got a different culture from other states, so there's a lot we have to do.
Sure.
And we'll work on it. We worry about how the benefits. You can't increase benefits and keep the rates low, and the state's got to pay for it. And that's a quagmire for me.
Yeah, or the providers absorbing it.
Well, the providers all want more money, and I understand where they're coming from because they've got cost of living inflation, and I don't know what they're going to do. We'll work with them, but you got to bring them to the table. You got to understand the problem before you can solve it.
Feels like COVID stuff just totally upended the healthcare industry.
COVID did so much damage to this nation and to our healthcare systems, and we still don't know what's coming down the pipe from it.
Yeah,
we don't know what the long-term effects are. But
yeah,
bottom line is, we keep working. I got a great staff,
yep.
in spite of the fact that I get my budget cut occasionally.
Yeah, I understand.
They don't cut my budget. What they do is they cut the number of pens I have, so I can't hire anybody.
So you still got the high-risk pool. You mentioned that earlier. You
Yes,
still got that in place. Well, that's important. I mean, that's
well, we did some things.
Good thinking there.
I will have to give credit to Tate Reeves for it.
Okay, good
back
planning.
when he was a lieutenant governor, and he probably didn't remember it. I just casually mentioned. I said, I need your help. We keep the high risk pool intact.
Yeah.
Instead of letting it go to waste, we may need it one day.
Okay.
He said, if that's what you want, Commissioner.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay.
So,
well, that's good.
And we got money. We were going to use that money that's in that risk pool. It can't be spent for anything except health care.
Okay.
To start up the exchange, and that didn't happen. So we got a basis. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
George?
sure, absolutely.
To try to help people on health care.
You're also the state fire marshal. Tell us what's going on there. Any updates?
State fire marshal, we got $18 million more of recurring expense, which we've been trying to get for 10 years, to give to the cities and counties for fire protection.
Okay.
That's a big deal because that keeps you rates low on your homes. It helps the cities and counties not to have another rate increase in taxes, and it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. Well,
and I will admit I'm tempted not to give some of that money to the cities where you got a rep or a senator that voted against my fire bills. Now, that's punitive, and I'm not going to do that. But, buddy, I want y'all to hear me say that.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
They think,
totally agree.
you can't do anything about it, Commissioner, because you don't have a vote, and we control the purse string. I said, well, there's other ways to do that.
That's interesting. A lot of folks are also noting that their homeowners insurance, umbrella coverage, et cetera, liability coverage is increasing. What are you hearing there?
We're looking at about 8% increase on homeowners for this next year.
Okay.
I announced today at the fair that we've had 1.1 million homeowners and automobile folks that have had a reduction on automobiles.
Okay.
And the reason I say homeowners because they're combined sometimes.
Okay.
Of 1 to 8%. I got a filing Monday from a company that's well known on 120,000 policies to reduce it 3.8.
Okay.
So we're turning the nut.
Well, good. Yeah, that's welcome news.
And it's just the opposite of what was predicted on the Trump's tariffs. They said, well, the tariffs, everything going to go up.
Yeah.
It's had the opposite effect. It's gone down.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still a bit early in that process. We'll see. But so far, certainly all the prognostications of doom and gloom were totally wrong at this point. Is what we know. Yeah. So, all right. Commissioner Mike Chaney, he runs the Mississippi Insurance Department here in Mississippi. We appreciate you coming on, Commissioner.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Yes,
Take
sir.
care.
We're taking a break right now. When we come back, it's the president of the Neshoba County Fair, Representative Scott Bounds. Stay with us.
From the Seabrook Paint.
Okay, is everybody ready?
I'm ready. Ready here.
MidDays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
We're back with you at the Neshoba County Fair is Mississippi's a giant house party. SuperTalk Mississippi, you're tuned in to MidDays. We're nearby Founder Square here, the pavilion at Founder Square, I should say. We're actually on the square. We're pleased to welcome now from the Mississippi House of Representatives, it's Representative Scott Bounds. He represents District 44, which of course includes Neshoba County. He's chairman of Appropriations B. Is that still the case there?
That's still the case.
That's still the case,
Haven't
okay.
been thrown off yet.
But most importantly, for today, you're president of the Neshoba County Fair. You the man.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm glad to be on with you, Gerard, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on and visit
Yes, sir.
while y'all are up here at the fair, and we appreciate y'all's continued support of us along with
Absolutely. We're pleased to be here. It looks like another good one underway.
Another good one. We've got our first morning of political speaking out of the way. No big announcements that I saw this morning. Of course, Commissioner Gibson, from what I caught of it, he discussed his some of the things going on with the Ag Department, but he also threw his hat in the ring for governor, which we knew he'd already done.
He'd already officially announced, just kind of following up on that.
Yeah, so, but tomorrow looks to be a very exciting day for us political speaking, but we've got today to go through the horse racing this afternoon, 49 Winchester here tonight.
Okay.
Political speaking again tomorrow morning, and we've got a special feature tomorrow. First time we've ever done this. We've got an outstanding band coming in to play at 1 o'clock tomorrow called the House Band.
That's right.
And it's made up of members of the Mississippi House and yours truly, Gerard Gibert.
That's right. With the exception of one outcast.
Yeah, with the exception of one who will be the John Bonham and the Buddy Rich of the group. He will be the drummer of the group, so congratulations.
Oh, we're looking forward to it. As you know, we've been working hard, practicing. What a great group. And believe it or not, when we get together, Representative Bounds, we rarely talk politics. We mainly are talking music and enjoying that.
Can you give us a preview of what you might be playing tomorrow? Just one song.
I will. I'll give you one song that happens to be my favorite to play on the drums of the whole set, and that's Red, White, and Blue by Leonard Skinner.
Leonard Skinner. My hair's turning white. My neck's always been red.
You got it, baby.
I know it, baby.
We've practiced that one quite a bit. I think we got it down. It is rather vigorous on the drums, I'll say, but it's a lot of fun to play. And I got to tell you, Joseph Tubb on the vocals on that does a great job. Noah Sanford on the keyboards. He's got that down pat. And Representative Steve Lott on the lead guitar is fantastic. Representative Chuck Blackwell and I have coordinated the bass and the bass drum as we do. Representative Lance Varner and Dan Eubanks handling the background vocals on that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. I know y'all. Well, I've heard y'all in some more informal settings of this, but I have heard y'all, and y'all have always done a good job. But we got that going on, and then Larry Fleet will be here tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's big time. There you go. We're close to the Naval Air Station in Meridian, so we got some jets buzzing over here.
Just got buzzed, didn't we? Just got buzzed. But no, it's been Gerard talking about the fair. It's been we kicked off last Friday, and today's Wednesday. There's basically 2.5 days left of the fair. 3 more days of horse racing, of course, 3 more nights of entertainment, and just the things that are synonymous with the Neshoba County Fair. And it's been a good fair. It's, I hate to discourage people from wanting to attend, but it's been hot. But I mean, it gets that way sometimes in July in Mississippi. But we've had a good day today, and just things that the fair, Gerard, is just it's different. It's hard to explain to people who've never been here. And I will tell you, the fair's not for everybody. Some people don't like the fair for whatever reason, and I get that. I mean, there's some things I don't like, but nonetheless, we're good.
Yeah. Well, I also wanted to just extend the thanks on behalf of the entire band for inviting us and allowing us. I believe it was actually your brainchild to start with, is what I'm told by your colleagues in the House. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah.
But ESPN, tell us about that.
Yeah. So ESPN, they are doing a segment this year called 50 States in 50 Days, and they have selected different venues in every state across the country where they will come and spend a couple of days and film and do one of their Sports Center national broadcasts from.
Okay.
And Neshoba County Fair was chosen as Mississippi's place to come.
Uniquely Mississippi.
It is. They arrived on Monday afternoon with the ESPN anchor Shay Cornett and a very big production crew, if I could say.
Okay.
And we did a lot of video footage and filming and things on Monday afternoon, and then yesterday morning, and then at 1 o'clock, National Broadcaster Sports Center went live, and of course they opened it up down here, and they went back to the studios in Connecticut for things and different things, but they showed footage. But Fair got very good exposure. They were like, as most people are who've never been here, we just can't believe this exists in the world. This kind of place exists in the world. But it's very good, positive publicity for the fair, Gerard.
No doubt.
And we were glad to get that. People say, oh, they're going to have the big sports center set here like it is SEC game day and all, or game day and all that. But no, they just did really everything sort of just off the cuff. But I mean, they had a very good produced show in order and in line and online, and they carried it out. But it one day, they didn't have their big set set up. About 15 years ago, they were here and did the same thing. They did have the sports center set here then, but. Didn't do it yesterday, so got an email today from the producer, and they were still just raving. And I'm going to use the word raving about their time here in Mississippi.
That's fantastic.
That kind of stuff you just can't buy, Gerard.
And you're so right. It's hard to describe to anybody. You really have to experience it firsthand to get a taste of it and a feel for it. And it may not be for everybody, but got a big attendance for what I'm seeing today. Looking good.
Yeah, the fair our attendance has been good this year. We're looking to close out strong. Really looking forward. For this. We're in the second year of a statewide election cycle. So politics, other than some people that have announced different offices, is a little quiet right now.
That's right.
But nonetheless, 2026, obviously, we moved the fair back a month.
Yeah.
So the dates for the 2026 fair will be June the 19th through the 26th. And, and I'm going to hit on that in just a minute if we got time. The Fair Board, we have been looking at this and trends and all for about the last 3 years on numbers.
Yeah.
And not so much that the attendance at the fair was down from opening day or things like that, but as Sunday came, families were leaving, having to go back to school.
Yeah.
So they'd already bought their ticket for the fair, but it was our vendors, our carnival, and everybody else that said, hey, this is just not something's happening. Well, that's what's happening. That's what we learned. So we're going to move it back a month. It's going to be in June. If it's 90 degrees, it'll be cooler than 105.
That's right.
But yeah, we're looking at that next year and looking forward to having the fair at that time. And then, of course, next year we will probably deviate from our political speaking schedule invitation rules next year.
Okay.
Since it appears to be there may be more candidates that will be announcing for office but not actually be qualified. So we may want to. Right now, our rules say that you have to be a qualified candidate for the office to be extended an invitation to speak. Next year, we may change it for a discussion and say announced and try to get some more candidates out here.
Interesting.
So just see how many it is and how far we want to go with that.
Gotcha.
So,
anything you want to talk about from a legislative perspective? We're 6 months away, as you know, from kicking off a new session.
I'm going to be honest with you. Some of the things that I heard Speaker White address at school choice and some other things, I think the House will be aggressive on those, pushing forward those policy positions. I think the House will be aggressive on pushing forward infrastructure projects that are needed across the state and different things. It appears that sort of after you get or for me anyway, after I get past the fair, I really began to focus on what's coming up in the legislative session. And I think those are some of the things. I did not get to hear the Lieutenant Governor speak this morning, so I don't really know.
One thing he said before you go is that he's prioritizing is a tax rebate check. $316 million, I think, is the figure he provided, which would be calculated as 15% of the state taxes paid in 2023 by individual taxpayers.
Okay.
So he said he's going to make that a high priority in the Senate. What do you think about that?
Well, I think, I think that would be something that would be up for discussion, and
Sure.
I think that could be something that would be friendly to the taxpayers. I will say that we're, as I made the point in my talk this morning, that our statutory savings accounts are full, we don't need to touch, but our cash reserves, we do have money.
That's what he talked about.
To do things like that. Now, how far would the agreement go for the House and the Senate to do that versus infrastructure projects that we need across the state? So you know how it works. We'll get down there in January and we'll hash it out.
Trying to cut the pie up.
We'll try to cut the pie up. Yes, that's exactly right.
We've been talking to Representative Scott Bounds here at the Neshoba County Fair. He happens to be the president of the Neshoba County Fair, and also great job by you and all the team to put this on. Appreciate that.
We've got a great staff.
No doubt about it.
We've got a great staff and board.
We're stepping aside for a break. We're coming right back with another segment, and then at 12:05, it's Commissioner Andy Gibson. Stay with us. We're at the Neshoba County Fair.
Polyumpa, Mississippi. It's so awesome! Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Come on, let's get on with the show.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
We're back with you from the Element Wealth Studio at Mississippi's Giant House Party. It's the Neshoba County Fair. That's where we are today. We appreciate the president of the Neshoba County Fair, Representative Scott Bounds, for coming on with us and talking about this uniquely Mississippi event. And so you heard it, folks. He talked about that on the show a few weeks ago. We're going to move the time of year back earlier in the year to June. Maybe it won't be quite as hot. Of course, you're a little more subject to weather disruptions where they're more prolonged than you are in a passing afternoon thunderstorm that you typically experience in July in the Magnolia State. So we'll see. But I think that's probably a good move on the part of the Neshoba County Fair. Looking forward to that for sure. So what do you guys think about this proposal by the Lieutenant Governor to issue a tax rebate? This is something I've talked about on the program before. And I don't know, Rhino, that I could take credit for it, but, most people think about that in terms of, I just sent everybody a check, right, the same amount of money. And I've always promoted the idea and supported the idea of, no, since this money was paid in to the Treasury by taxpayers, that only taxpayers should receive a rebate. And so what they're talking about is calculating that on the basis of the 2023 tax return, simply multiplying whatever they paid to the state. And that's your total liability for the year. We're not talking about just if you had to pay in after you did your return. We're talking about just the amount of taxes you pay to state, net amount, times 15%. Here's the problem, guys, with that I think that the Lieutenant Governor is going to encounter. Maybe Republicans will sign off on it, support it. The votes are there since we have supermajorities in both houses. But keep this in mind. The surplus created also includes sales taxes. Everybody pays sales taxes. In fact, sales taxes account for 38% of total state revenues. Income taxes are 27%. Individual income taxes. Then corporate income taxes behind that. And then there's a series of fees, insurance, premium taxes. There's other little separate, smaller amounts of taxes that make up the total revenue received by the state. But it's mainly sales taxes. And then next is income taxes. So I could see a case, honestly, Rhino, for those other taxpayers that didn't pay any income taxes but paid sales taxes saying, hey, we're being excluded here. We did pay in. It's not just income taxpayers. And that's just the nature of the way state governments work, in that they derive a significant amount of their revenue from consumption taxes, which I support. And as we eliminate the income tax based on the legislation that passed in the last session, we will get to a point where we rely almost totally on sales taxes, consumption taxes. Won't be any taxes. So one of the things that presents a challenge there is that these various programs we have, tax credits and so forth, which are based on income taxes, won't be available if we don't have any income taxes. Now, I'd much rather have no income taxes than the alternative, which is to have tax credits. If you're not paying any taxes, you're already getting a tax credit. You're not paying any taxes. The taxes are zero. So that makes total sense. The other thing to keep in mind that I don't know if I've mentioned on the show before, and this is something that is relevant at the state and federal level, is that if we're going to rely totally on sales taxes, consumption taxes, when you look at a key ratio of taxes to GDP, and the expectation is that we're going to grow our GDP substantially as a result of eliminating the income tax, which I believe that we will. Question is by how much. But if you look at how much we would have to grow it, assuming that ratio stays level, which I think it will for all accounts, the ratio of sales taxes to GDP. If you think about how do we get more sales taxes to cover our expenses since we don't have any income taxes, well, then you got to grow the GDP. It works out mathematically. I did this on a compound annual growth rate. Assuming spending stays level, which you know it won't. That means we have to grow our GDP by about 80%. That calculates out to be about 4.5% on a compound annual growth rate over 10 years. I did the math on that this morning. We did just experience a pretty significant GDP growth of about 4.14%, so that's definitely achievable. But the problem is that assumes spending stays level or is cut, but that just assumes it stays level. So that's the math that we're facing. And the same is true at the federal level. If growth is going to offset our deficits, assuming spending stays level, which you know it won't. So a little wonky on the math there, but this tax to GDP ratio is a common metric used in projecting revenues from taxes. We're stepping aside for a break. Fox News, SuperTalk News next from the Neshoba County Fair. Then it's the Commissioner of Agriculture and Commerce, Andy Gibson.
Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. Hello? You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Everyone, it's MidDays. The Element Well studio has been relocated once again to the Neshoba County Fair. We're just off of the pavilion at Founders Square on this
Hump Day.
It's our pleasure to welcome now, as we kick off the afternoon portion of MidDays, it's the Commissioner of the Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce, Commissioner Andy Gibson. Commissioner, always good to see you, sir.
Well, Gerard, it's good to be back. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here in Neshoba County in the red dirt and the sweat and all that is in the Neshoba County Fair.
Yes, sir, but it doesn't appear to be deterring attendance.
No,
it's pretty strong.
It's a great attendance. It always is. I was here on Monday for some of the livestock shows, and it was even well attended then. Because, the heart and soul of this fair, as all county fairs, is our agriculture.
Right.
The reason we have a county fair and a state fair is because of our agriculture, livestock producers. And 4-H and FFA kids are running around here, and a lot of them are living here during the fair. So it's just a great place to remember that agriculture's roots run deep all over Mississippi, including the red dirt of Neshoba County.
It is, and it's such an important industry to our state's economy, of course, to our nation's economy. But even though we talk about it every time you're on, I'm going to ask you to share again the actual percentage the agricultural industry represents of the total state GDP.
Well, it is a huge, $9 billion, $10 billion practically of our just farm gate value.
Yeah.
That does not include the value-added components, for example, where they're in Carthage, they're processing not too far from here, 2 million birds a week. 60% of that's going to Chick-fil-A. So that $10 billion does not include the value added, the price of that product. So that's just a farm gate value. But then when you look at it in terms of employment, nearly 20% of Mississippians have a job related directly or indirectly to farm, agriculture, forestry. It is our state's biggest part of the economy. It's the biggest part of Mississippi's economy.
As an industry, yeah. And so last time I checked, Commissioners, it's still true. Poultry is number one, right?
Poultry is number one. Of that nearly $10 billion, I think that my recollection is almost $4 billion of that is poultry. So
wow.
A lot of that is South Mississippi, but there's a lot of interest now. I was in North Mississippi yesterday, even up in Tippah County. There are poultry houses being built, brand new ones, in the north part of the state. So it's all over Mississippi.
And, of course, we've got a great Mississippi-based public company, Cal-Maine, the largest egg producer in the country.
Largest egg producer in America.
In America, maybe in the world.
In the world, I would say. I think I saw statistics in the world is included. So they've had, as we all have experienced, the challenges of the bird flu, also known as high pathogen avian influenza, which decimated America's laying flocks last year, just now kind of building back and getting those layers back into production. And so the egg prices have gone down. President Trump said he would do it. He has. And so, and I will give credit to USDA. They've really focused on fighting this bird flu to keep it at bay, and we pray that it will stay away.
Made a few changes, did they not, to the regulations around that? Some of them were a little ridiculous.
Yeah, they did. They made it easier for farmers to do what's called biosecurity, but actually just putting the best standards in place, what really does work, rather than some of the frou-frou stuff that people just want to talk about doing something. So they're doing a great job. And proud to be working with Secretary Rollins and all the folks at USDA.
We're facing the pavilion here at Founders Square. It has hosted perhaps thousands of political speeches. You spoke today. What was your message?
Well, my message was really heart and soul of agriculture. That is, not only the past challenges that agriculture has faced, the last 4 years of Biden inflation and all of the ag trade deficits we've talked about at length on your show. But now what are we going to do about that in President Trump's leadership to help overcome that trade deficit by winning this trade war, by getting prices down, by removing ridiculous regulations and making it easier for farmers to do business. But I also announced what I believe will be the most important thing that I've done as Commissioner of Agriculture. That is to launch the Future of Agriculture Resiliency for Mississippi. That stands for FARM Strategic Plan. You're familiar with strategic planning in the business world.
Yes, sir.
I am too. I've advised businesses for 20 years on how to, navigate the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, the threats that are around your
SWOT analysis
industry. So we want to do that on a statewide level for the state's largest industry, agriculture. Actually, we've had private sector agriculture farmers, businesses, agribusiness, financial industry, insurance industry folks come and say, this is something we really need to do. So we're going to launch a 12 to 16 month strategic planning initiative called the Farm Plan. And when we get done with this, I expect that we will be looking at all the important issues around Mississippi's largest industry, from workforce and labor, which is a critical issue, to the need to diversify in some situations, diversification of crops, or markets, for example, market expansion, or new markets that we need to tap, and also technological innovation, AI. We've talked about AI, but not the agriculture AI, not the reproductive AI, but the artificial intelligence is going to impact agriculture for the future. What is that going to look like? And to the best of our ability to figure out what we need to do to maintain the rural quality of life, because most Mississippians live in the country where our agriculture is the backbone of that small town, that small community. It's where the feed and seed store, the local grocery store. Without agriculture, you don't have that community. So how do we preserve that for the future? Coming up with action items, specific policy. There may be industry actions that need to be taken, policy changes. It may be legislation that needs to pass. And we're going to present this farm strategic plan to the legislature, but also the Congress. There will be federal issues that will be involved. That we know, for example, there are financial needs that farmers need that just are not feasible right now, are not allowed for under the current federal programs. And the Trump administration has said, look, tell us what needs to change. That's what we're going to do the next 12 to 16 months. By the end of 26, I can't give you a hard deadline, but giving ourselves the deadline, the end of 26, here's a full package of what we need to do, seeds that we need to plant today for the needs of Mississippi agriculture tomorrow. And I expect it'll be a productive, thoughtful process with all the right people involved.
I'm sure that's certainly welcome to the industry. As you're well aware, there was a bit of a scare earlier this year when the farmers go out and seek financing to get their crops in the ground, and then they of course repay those loans once they've completed their harvest. But a lot of the banks were kind of wilting on them a little bit.
That's right. It was a very touch and go situation. Thankful to Congress for taking action on that. They did provide some stability by letting the Farm Bill expire last year or the year before. There's been a lot of uncertainty in the industry, but now they've bolstered that, strengthened it. A lot of great improvements in the OBBB that help not only farmers but all businesses across the country, as you're familiar with. But that's a great step. But there are also, the world is changing in terms of agriculture. The markets, as we've seen, China has withdrawn. They're buying all their product practically now from Brazil, for example, soybeans for just one example. Now, I expect that the president is working to get a new trade deal with China, but can we trust them? We've been down this road
always
before.
A problem
I don't trust them as far as I could throw them.
Yep.
So we have to think outside the box. Are there new markets that we need to tap? Are there new products that we need to offer? And also, what do we need to do to help the financial and insurance industries to be there to support our farmers and producers? So I've had a lot of great feedback from this today. Had several farmers walk up and say, thank you for doing this. We've been needing to do this a long time. And it'll be, as I said, I believe it's the most important work that I will have done as Commissioner of Ag at the end of the day.
Okay. Well, and certainly at the federal level, getting the legislation through, and which includes the reference pricing, was a sigh of relief.
Huge relief.
Big deal
for the
there.
long term. That's right.
Yeah.
Still got we still got a hump to get over in terms of this year. Every trade deal that we can get on the table, like Asia, Indonesia, the Philippines, Australia, and then the EU deal, European Union, was a huge positive influx of good news this past Sunday. Every deal like that we can get done before harvest season is going to help our farmers even more. So let's get it done. And
well, the good news is, Commissioner, correct me if I'm wrong here, the farmers in our country are so dang productive. We produce more than we can consume in our country. We rely on the rest of the world to buy that stuff.
We do. And here in Mississippi, when you put a pencil to it, 1 out of every 3 acres of production is destined for an international market. So you're talking about a third of the market share just in our state, and we have to expand those markets and get better deals done. So we're working on that. I feel cautiously optimistic about it, but we've got a ways to go to get that done. But we can't wait and see what might happen next. We need to be proactive, and that's what this farm plan, the future of agriculture resiliency for Mississippi, a strategic plan, that's what it's all about. And of course, I'm running for governor. I mentioned that today. And we'll talk about that. Not as much. That was not the biggest part of my speech, but I did explain why I'm doing it. And we'll continue talking about the next 2 years. It's going to be a great campaign the next couple of years.
The lieutenant governor was on earlier quickly. He says that he's going to focus on a rebate of 15% of the taxes paid by individuals in 2023 in the state of Mississippi to send back some of this money they've accumulated in the general fund surplus.
Wow.
So what do you think about that?
Wow. Well, I always like the idea of giving taxpayers back their money. It's their money after all. I would never, I tell you, I would not ever vote for a tax increase. I wouldn't sign a bill that had a tax increase. But when you talk about giving folks money back, that is the direction we need to go.
Yeah.
I also know there's going to be a lot with the OBBB, the cutting SNAP.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big cut in terms of federal funds coming in here. We're going to have to navigate that. We're going to have to do more with less as a state. And
that's right.
Think, but starting with, sending taxpayer back their money is a great idea, a wonderful idea.
Appreciate you coming on, Commissioner Andy Gibson, the Commissioner of the Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce. Have a great fair, Commissioner.
Thank you. We'll see you around. Appreciate you, Gerard.
We're coming right back with Shawaski Young. He's a candidate for Secretary of State.
The best.
Check it out. Let's do this.
The talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Let's get on with it.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. The Element Wealth Studio is at Founder Square at the Neshoba County Fair. We've got a view of the pavilion where all the political fanfare occurs, for sure. It's a hot one over here, but it is July, and it's the Neshoba County Fair, and that always equals hot. But right now, it's Shawaski Young. He is a candidate for Secretary of State for the great state of Mississippi.
Yes,
Shawaski, always good to see you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Well, Gerard, thank you so much for having me back here. It's great to be here with you at the Neshoba County Fair. You know, I always love coming. You know, I had my first job here when I was 15 parking cars.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So,
okay.
Yeah, shout out to all those folks out there making
parking
sure
cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so did you speak today?
I did not speak today. I won't be speaking this year, you know, per fair rules.
That's right. Got to be the year.
In the election year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I heard president of the fair, Scott Bounds, say they may adjust that next year if you're officially qualified. He talked about that.
Well, I hope he does. I talked to him before this particular fair actually started, and, you know, he said, Shawaski, you know, we got the rules and everything.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
You know, I said, well, you can't do anything for a good old Neshoba County native. He said, we got to keep the rules.
They're pretty good about adhering to the rules and not making any exceptions, and you got to respect them for that.
100%.
I know you do. So,
100%.
All right, so you've thrown your hat into the ring. You've kind of switched your party affiliations. You've talked a lot about that on the show. You've written some op-eds. In fact, you wrote one that kind of outlined your vision not so long ago, published in the Clarion Ledger. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So the new op-ed that's in the Clarion Ledger right now is a conservative vision for Mississippi.
Okay.
And in that particular op-ed, do make my announcement that was already out there, but in this op-ed as well, that I'm running for Secretary of State in 2027, seeking the Republican nomination. I'm talking about, you know, the fiscal conservative values that represents Mississippi, that makes us all happy and safe and secure here in our particular state, as it relates to election integrity, as it relates to protecting our communities. Because one of the things that I'm going to be talking about in this particular election is working with state legislatures to get increased funding to the Department of Public Safety for more money going to law enforcement, because I believe that a safe Mississippi is a prosperous Mississippi. Okay. And that's going to directly align with our business community and values there as well, too.
All right. So from the Secretary of State's perspective, Shawaski, what can you do to just make things easier to set up a business, organize, expand, create a business? I mean, all of that requires working with the Secretary of State to some extent.
Absolutely, and those are some of the things that I talked briefly about on our new website, which is youngformississippi.com. I'll put that in there. We want to be able to cut the red tape that's already here in Mississippi and make it less burdensome to actually start a business, make it easier for entrepreneurs to be able to come to Mississippi or already be here in Mississippi and start their business. Now, the work that the Secretary of State office has already done is a great job. You know, we want to be able to expand on that particular success and make it easier for folks to actually start businesses, make it easier for folks who are in small businesses to be able to work with state legislatures to get lower tax breaks for small businesses and things of that nature. And that's how we're going to be able to increase the business climate.
What are you doing to persuade people that you're for real? Because you've talked a lot on my show, and you have in social media and in the public about your sort of shifting, crossing the aisle, and now a promoter and a believer in more conservative philosophy and values. How do you persuade people that you mean that?
Well, one of the things is going to be, and I talked to some students who were graduating high school and going to be going to Ole Miss this particular fall, and they came up to me and asked me that particular same question. Okay. And the answer to that question is going out there doing the hard work, going to places where people don't think that they're going to get an opportunity to speak with me, going to all the rural counties, going to all the other 11 counties that it takes to get the nomination. And I'm talking with folks that are part of the Mississippi Federation of Republican Women right now, going to all their particular meetings and getting on schedule to go talk with them as well, too, as well as Republican clubs across the state. And it doesn't matter if you're in Madison County or Rankin or Lee or Lowndes and other counties that I'm going to be going to. I'm going to be talking to everyone, presenting my platform, but also more importantly, hearing about their concerns and answering the hard question about the journey that it took me to get to where I am right now.
Okay. So is there anything in particular that just made you pop up, wake up one day and say, you know, this just isn't working for me. It really doesn't align with my personal values, and it's time for me to make a change.
Well, that's exactly what happened. I saw the Democratic Party. I didn't just leave it left me. It's how I describe it in this article and how I describe it on the website and how I describe it out in public. When we have policies that are just moved not only just policies, but a culture that is just moving so far left, where we can't even recognize what our traditional society actually looks like in Mississippi anymore.
Yeah.
No matter if we're talking about abortion, or if we're talking about how we're actually, having girls playing boys sports or boys playing girls sports, or all those particular issues that are sideline issues, but are major issues of a representative of a party. I didn't want to be associated with that anymore. That's not what I believe in. I have a daughter myself, and that's not how mom and dad raised me. So that's why I moved away from the party.
We've got candidates, as you well know, for mayor of New York City and Minneapolis that are Democrats, but they're more than just kind of to the left. I mean, they're way out there. Yeah, they're self-avowed, proud socialists. Right. Is this causing a problem for Democrats?
I think it's going to ultimately cause a problem for Democrats across the country as a whole. I mean, it's ridiculous what that particular candidate is talking about, as far as not only defunding the police, all bus rides are free, schools and things of that nature are just put into places where they've never been before.
State-owned grocery stores.
It's ridiculous.
Higher taxes, the whole playbook for what essentially are Marxist and unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
Are you sort of surprised, Shawoski, at just the support that the candidates are getting from those respective voters in the cities?
Across what, nationally?
No, I'm talking about in New York specifically, in Minneapolis, but it does seem like that is permeating nationally as well.
I think that there is a overwhelming feeling amongst far-left Democratic circles that somehow this country has gotten it wrong when it comes to hard work, when it comes to earning a hard day's pay and wanting the government to be able to give you things versus working for yourself. And I think that's what separates us in Mississippi so differently, and separates the Republican Party so differently, and conservatives so differently as it relates to that particular perspective.
Yeah, it surely seems like that the central theme of the narrative is they got, you don't, we need to take from them and give to you. That's what I hear on an almost daily basis.
Well, even on my website, one of the point lines is work, no government handouts. You see that, on my website at youngformississippi.com. And that's what it's about. Look, we grew up in Mississippi. Hard work is what gets rewarded. You don't get to, say, hey, I didn't make work hard in the library and get straight A's and get a scholarship to Ole Miss. You have to work for it, wherever it came. So, I think that's what's going to be representative of us in this campaign, and also in our state going forward.
Okay. So what's next in your campaign plans? You said you're traversing the state and talking to people.
I am, and I'm really excited about how we're going to be going forward. In the next couple of weeks, I'll be meeting with the president of the Energy Association. I'll be meeting with some of the folks in business. People call that, institutional money, but that's not why we're there. I'm there to understand exactly what is it going to take from the Secretary of State's office to broaden business and make business easier in our state, to make it easier for them in our particular state. And that goes for manufacturing as well, too. I'll be meeting with them, too. I just got an email from their presidents, and we're going to be setting up a meeting going forward.
So have you had any discussions with the public service commissioners about the critical need we have for energy and how to address that?
I have not. I look forward to actually doing so. I did see the interview with Kiefer Stamps, and he really
the Secretary of State's office would be involved in that process.
Absolutely, 100%. 100%. And I'm glad I got a good relationship with Commissioner Stamps. I look forward to learning about the rest of them. But
they're all good guys. Yeah, they're all good guys, and they understand the problem, and they're willing to address it. And they're not ideologues. I mean, they're not looking to make a hard stand the way, honestly, Joe Biden, the Democrats, is. Just say no to fossil fuels, end of story, done deal. We can't survive as a society like that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to know them.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know that readiness is a big deal as it relates to energy in our particular state. I know they talked about a lot of jobs being needed and are available with energy right now, and trying to get folks to work doing that. So I want to meet with them, and I'll get some time on the schedule to talk with them. Learn more about it.
Well, I know you will, and the good news is I think you got people that align with your values and your philosophy there about that. But it's important. Mississippi cannot be a laggard here. We need to be a leader, and the good news is we got lots of investment coming in the state, but our energy infrastructure and supply there is the new currency in economic development. But more importantly, what these companies look at that's critical to the Secretary of State's office, and you know this, you don't need me to tell you, but it's how quick can you get that permitting process through, and the Secretary of State can be involved in that.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to cutting the burden of some red tape. You want to make sure that you're following the law, you're following the regulations that are already there, but we don't need red tape there that's going to actually make it harder for you to actually get started if you already got everything that's already legitimately in check. So I think learning from what Secretary Watson has been able to accomplish is going to be a a big part of this.
Okay.
You know, I want to get an opportunity to speak with him and see what he sees as issues right now.
Yeah.
You know, I want to talk with other folks who are involved in that particular process, and especially folks in the business community.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to help me get an overarching plan of how we can actually help make it easier to move business forward in Mississippi.
Voting. Talk about that. You know, it's a major responsibility. Secretary of State's office got about a minute left.
Right on. So, you know, election integrity is a major part of the platform. That's on the website as well, too, at youngformississippi.com. I want to make it very clear with people. I am not for mail-in ballots. I am not for online voter registration. I am for making sure that our circuit clerks get a call back from the Secretary of State's office when they call, and also making sure that folks know if we're going to have early voting in Mississippi, it has to be done in a safe and secure way and maintaining our integrity.
Military personnel overseas, though, they mail in. Are you okay with that?
It will not apply to military.
Okay, won't apply to military. Just want to get that clarification.
Thank you for asking.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right, we've been talking to Shawaski Young. He's a candidate for Mississippi Secretary of State. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Gerard. Looking forward to it.
We're coming right back, folks. Stay with us. We're at the Neshoba County Fair.
From the Seabrook Paint SuperTalk.fm. Middays with Gerard Gibert on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Oh, mama, I can hear you a-crying. You're so scared and all alone. Hangman is coming down from the gallows, and I don't have very long.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from Mississippi's giant house party. It's the Neshoba County Fair. We are, of course, set up where we always are at Founder Square with a view of the pavilion in front of us. We welcome now Dr. Angie Bourgeois, Dean of the College of Architecture, Art, and Design at Mississippi State University. Leah Kemp, Director of the Fred Carl Jr. Small Town Center, Mississippi State University. And David Lewis, the Executive Director of the Mississippi Arts Commission. Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us on. We're thrilled to be here. What's really special about today, and I'll really just talk here at the beginning and let these wonderful ladies talk about the topic, is that I don't know that everybody knows this, but right now in Venice, Italy, people are learning about the Neshoba County Fair. And I get the pleasure at the Arts Commission to really celebrate excellence in the arts in Mississippi. This is a great way. Mississippi State's two design research centers, the Small Town Center as well as the Gulf Coast Community Design Center, are both featured in this International Olympics of Architecture, really. And so we had the pleasure, Dr. Bourgeois and I, with Dr. Keenum, to see the exhibit, but I wanted to bring them on because Leah Kemp is responsible for one of the installations, which features the porches of Neshoba.
Okay. So, Dr. Bourgeois, while we're talking about architecture and you being the dean of the College of Architecture, I'd have to say the architecture here of the cabins, the houses, the structures is maybe unique in the world.
I absolutely getting the chance. I'm going to admit, full disclosure, this is my first visit to Neshoba.
Yep.
And so getting to see the true heart of vernacular architecture, to be able to celebrate the South, the culture of the South, the openness, these porches, which I know Leah will be able to talk a little bit more about. It's the diversity, but also just that welcoming aspect of these porches is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it I think truly does reflect the spirit of the South, the hospitality of the state of Mississippi, and to your point, every year when I come over for this event, hosting the show, I know so many people that have cabins here. Inevitably, they come by and say, hey, look, if you need anything, you know, we're in this number, come on by. I mean, that's just the way we do things in Mississippi.
We have been invited to lunch about 7 times.
Well, so you
in
did
15, 20 minutes.
But that, I mean, I think that says a lot about Mississippi's culture, just friendly, welcoming, never met a stranger, and it's kind of cool to be part of. So, Leah, explain your connection to this porches stuff. I'm not sure I quite get that.
Yeah,
Explain that.
It's kind of a little bit difficult to explain, but I think David kind of hit it off pretty well, or described it really well. So the Venice Biennale is the Olympics of architecture, if you will. I think that's a great way to describe it. But they have different countries represent their architecture from their country. And so the American Pavilion had a competition, and it was focused on porches. And so we submitted a project, the Neshoba County Fair.
Wow.
And so we have a long history of research focused on the Neshoba County Fair from our center, and so we expanded on that. And so we really talked about the public nature of this place and how the private porches expand into these beautiful public realms.
Yeah.
So, like Angie said, we've been invited to lunch 7 times already, but it's because we are in that public realm where the porch kind of extends on forever, right? And so it's this great kind of place of engagement.
Well, we may have more porches on these fairgrounds properties than in the entire rest of the country, honestly.
Right.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So, David, the connection of the Arts Commission to this endeavor, this competition, and so forth.
Absolutely. So my background is I got my bachelor's at Mississippi State in architecture, and at the Arts Commission we get to celebrate anything in art and design and architecture, music, the excellence of that. And so when I heard that Mississippi State's first entry into the Olympics of Architecture was 2 of their design centers, that's pretty astounding. I love when we have a good Mississippi championing story. That's half of the university programs at the exhibit. So I was like really proud, and I was like, Dr. Keeney, you gotta see this. And so he got to the chance to go over there. Dr. Bourgeois and I met him over there, and we took him and the provost, a couple others through the exhibit, and their daughter, and she was like, I know that cabin, I know who stays there. And so it was cool for them to experience that, but also to see different people from all over the world see something that's like what I think is Mississippi's like best cultural hidden gem is the Neshoba County Fair. And what makes it so much beyond, the pavilions and the political speech and the races is that sense of community, which is so cool. The exhibit is porches. It's called An Architecture of Generosity, which is like big terms, but it really speaks to like the way that a front porch makes people feel at home or feel welcome. And what better place to do that in the Mississippi? What better setting than the Neshoba County Fair?
So, Dr. Bourgeois, are porches more in vogue or less in vogue in current architectural work?
Well, I think that, architecture goes in cycles, right? And
like clothes.
Yeah, I think that, right, exactly. The fashion.
It's so old, it's in style.
Right.
But I do think that right now community and the ability to connect is front of face, because that's we know that architecture and design shapes people's experience. And so I think because people are seeming to seek more connection, that openness in sort of the facades or the front piece of most architectures is probably going to be considering heavily. I think a lot of architects are going to be thinking about how does this space define people's experience.
So do you feature some of the architecture here in the classroom? Do you guys talk about that as an example, for example, of design?
I did a couple of times when I was in school. I know I took an elective about it, and we sort of studied it in one of our design classes.
And I think we talk about the cultural relevance of particular styles or parts of architecture, and because our students need to think about how do you shape somebody's experience? Well, looking to the past and looking to other great examples. This is not one example. There's such a multiplicity of different evolutions of the same idea. So I would say yes, we do, but we're really trying to get our students to think, what is this thing called a porch cause people to feel and act? I always say, we in our college manipulate people because design guides how we think, feel, move, buy, experience.
So, Leah, this may be gaining more exposure for the architecture, for the porches, which are part of virtually every cabin here on the world stage, than maybe anything in the history of Mississippi.
Could be.
Yeah.
We're kind of hopeful for that.
What's the response? What's the reaction to that?
I think it's been amazing. I went to Venice for the grand opening for the Biennale, and the concierge at a hotel, my cousin came to stay, and the concierge was helping him plan some stuff, and he said, I've got to go to this Biennale thing. Have you ever heard of it? And the concierge was like, oh my gosh, someone who is participating in this? This is amazing. So even on kind of an international level, I think people kind of understand that this is a pretty wonderful deal. But I think when I was there too, we had a little talk, and I was talking on the front porch of the exhibit, and I had a family come up to me afterwards, and they said, "Are you the one that was talking about the Neshoba County Fair?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "We have a cabin there."
Oh, wow.
And so I had to go all the way to Italy to meet somebody who had a cabin here. So
that's incredible.
I think that's pretty amazing.
So David is the executive director of the Mississippi Arts Commission. What do the other members of the commission think about this?
I think that they're thrilled when we have the opportunity to really showcase Mississippi's culture on the international stage. I mean, that's just a really incredible opportunity, just like we would if we had, the students or athletes in the Olympics itself.
Sure.
It's a really great pride point for us. It's an opportunity for us to showcase our own homegrown talent and the really hard work that design centers like the Small Town Center and the Gulf Coast Community Design Center are doing to really address the things happening all across Mississippi.
Yeah. Dr. Bushall, we got about a minute left. Is it fair to describe this as kind of David said, the Olympics of architecture?
Absolutely, of design in general.
Okay.
So the Venice Biennale is something that happens on a rotation. So every other year there's a celebration of architecture in the world and art in the world. So the prime global competition or representation, sort of like an old school World Expo. So there are pavilions of all these countries that participate every other year in architecture and art, and to be a part of that is really a global stamp of approval. So it's incredible.
Leah, before we go, are there like awards that are provided for?
Oh, I wish. No.
I mean, you're just exhibiting. Right?
I'll just say it was just a dream come true.
Neat,
really,
man.
a professional and personal dream to be able to go and exhibit there, and to me, that's the reward. Just getting to be a part of that, and getting to be a part of a collection of architects and architecture from all over the world.
Sharing that common love.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was really incredible.
Well, you guys make Mississippi proud. Yeah. It's really awesome. Yeah. Appreciate you coming on.
Too.
Dr. Angie Bourgeois, the Dean of the College of Architecture at Mississippi State. Leah Kemp, Director of the Fred Carl Jr. Small Town Center at MSU. And David Lewis, Executive Director of the Mississippi Arts Commission, have been our guests here. We're at the Neshoba County Fair, Mississippi's giant house party. Final segment is next.
For a flipping good.
It's so awesome!
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Come on, let's get on with the show!
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
We're back with you from the Neshoba County Fair. It's Middays. Well, the final segment, it's been a good day. We've enjoyed visiting with all of our guests and a great variety of the politicos in the state. And then that was an interesting conversation. Who would have known, Rhino, that the architecture here at the Neshoba County Fair would be featured in Venice, Italy? I wonder what the Italians think about that. That's really something. That's a big deal for the state of Mississippi. It's unique for sure. I got a couple of texts here. I need to give a shout out to Max South. They provided the high-speed internet for the fair and the broadcast. Public Wi-Fi. First time I can remember ever having that. And so thank you to Max South. I'm using it right now. It's working awesomely. And we'll be on it again tomorrow. And we appreciate them providing connectivity here at the Neshoba County Fair. You know, you got a interesting contrast of the old and the new, right? When you've got high-speed internet out here on these fairgrounds with all these old structures and just other things that have been here for a long time. Again, the history being preserved here in Neshoba County, Mississippi at the Neshoba County Fair. Really something to behold, no doubt about it. Nathan in Smith County, congratulations to the commissioner's daughter winning her show. Let's see here. Thomas in Greenwood says, I might take off, come watch y'all play tomorrow. Come on down, Thomas. We're going to be on the stage playing music, man. Looking forward to it. So he also said, is this just an empty campaign promise? I think he was referring to the lieutenant governor talking about a tax rebate. The idea I love. I think it needs a little work, honestly. I do think there ought to be some proration of it, and I like that concept that the lieutenant governor discussed. This is something I've promoted for a couple of years now, ever since we started producing these tidy surpluses. And we have to be honest, a good bit of that does come from the helicopter money dropped by the federal government, both to individuals and to states, municipalities, local governments for water, transportation infrastructure. But we're paying the price for that in that we've got significant debt. And that's why I'm not a fan of these $600 tariff rebate checks, and we need to do the math for you on that. You're hearing the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, and others boast about what looks like going to be $300 billion haul of tariff revenue into the Treasury, with the latest numbers coming from the month of June showing $27 billion for the month collected in tariff revenue, $25 billion the previous record the month before. So the president's tariffs are definitely producing revenue into the Treasury as he proposed they would. But we also have to understand that the prior year was $150 billion under the Biden administration. That's simply because the tariffs that the president implemented in his first term continued into the Biden term. So we're going from 150 to 300. That's $150 billion. Guys, we got a $2 trillion deficit that we're facing and $37 trillion of debt. My preference would be for the government to apply some of this tariff revenue to our debt, or just use it to cut deficits if that's possible. It is Senator Josh Hawley in the U.S. Senate from Missouri that has the legislation that would provide these $600 checks. And the other thing that I get worried about, in all honesty, is you're dropping money out of helicopters again. If people go out and spend that, that could, in fact, ignite inflation. We're just now getting it into the 2.5% range. So understand, prices are still going up. They're just not going up significantly. I mean, 2.5% is a whole lot better than 9%. Which is what we experienced in 22 after Biden had to pass that stupid American Rescue Plan. Of course, we took it. We took all the money that came out from that, but we paid for it in the form of inflation and higher debt and higher deficits that produced the debt. And so it was a bad idea on the part of Joe Biden. And sure, I would encourage all of our local governments that were huge beneficiaries from this, as well as individuals who got more stimulus checks. Well, of course you're going to take that. But there's a price to pay for that on the other side when you're just printing money out of thin air, which is what we're doing. So, honestly, I would like to see the president kind of stand down on that. I generally don't disagree with the president's policies. I get it. He wants to show the world that, hey, these tariffs are doing what I said. They're producing a lot of money for the Treasury. I think that's great. So Nathan in Smith County says he's coming to see us tomorrow. That's great. I can't believe Thomas actually has a job, says Ricky in Aberdeen. Somebody else in the C Spire text line says, we agree, apply it to the debt. I bet it makes Thomas so mad when a Democrat wakes up and joins the Republicans. Well, that's a wrap here for today. It's day one for Middays. Richard Cross will be on with you in the morning, and then Middays at 10 o'clock as usual from the Neshoba County Fair. And then it's the house band on the stage at the track at 1 o'clock. Hope you will join us tomorrow. Come see us if you're in the area. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. Until then, stay safe and God bless everyone.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.